notable leaders. Today, I am going to break down my top 4 ways to come up with content ideas so that you never wonder what kind of content to create and you never run out of content ideas. Let's get into it. I thought I would talk about how to come up with good content ideas because especially in today's marketing world, constantly coming up with content and having content to put out there can be the lifeblood or the death of your business, your brand, your products. If you don't have enough content, especially if you're doing organic marketing, it's really hard to maintain those followers, the engagement of the people that may be able to buy your stuff. And so today I thought I would talk about coming up with some content ideas and how to constantly stay top of mind when it comes to content. One of my favorite ways to have a good source of content ideas is to look at the other content that other people are putting out. And when I say model someone else's content, I want you to understand this doesn't mean that you need to find somebody in your niche and then do exactly what they're doing to create content. So let's say you are in the tax niche. You don't need to find someone else talking about tax saving tips and then share those exact tips as your content. That's kind of copying. Instead, look at people in all different niches and see how you can model the way that they're presenting their content, what kind of content they're presenting, how is it being presented, what words are they using, whether it's video or text format. There's all sorts of ways to model content. And I like to look at content that's doing really, really well. So over on Facebook, I might see some people inside a group posting about something that maybe I'm talking about coaching and consulting. That's my niche, but somebody might be talking about food. And they might say, hey, here's my top 5 health hacks for dropping 10 pounds this summer, right? Now that has nothing to do, aside from that I might be interested, by all means share. That has nothing to do with what I do as a coach or how I sell or whatever, but I can look at their headline and I can look at the engagement and the type of questions that people are asking and the way that people are taking on that content and say, okay, how can I model that type of content, that formatting, the way that they worded it, what they were talking about, how much of a hook there was or the curiosity into my piece of content. The same is true in video format. So I have, obviously on TikTok a lot, and I will look at how people are creating video content on TikTok. What kind of sounds are they using? What kind of hashtags are they using? How do their hashtags relate to their content, right? What is that content? And then what's the engagement? What are the people saying in the comments? What are the highs and the lows and the pluses and the minuses? For example, with one of my clients that I work with in the financial space, specifically with insurance, he needs to work a little bit on his storytelling. And storytelling is incredibly hard to do well, and it's super valuable. Having a good told story is one of the best ways to get your content to get engagement and to go viral, because if you have a good storytelling presentation, if you tell a story well, people will stay engaged. They will watch the whole thing. If you have a great hook and then you tell a good story, it doesn't matter how long that content is, people will stay engaged. But having really good storytelling background can be hard. And so I have found a couple of other creators that tell great stories, one specifically in real estate. And I sent him that video and said, hey, watch how this story is told. Now, this person who tells a great story is in real estate. My client is in the insurance space. These are 2 totally separate niches, 2 totally separate audiences of people, maybe, most likely, right? But he's not looking to model what was being said. He's not looking to steal that content. No, he's modeling how that story was told. What was that hook? And how do we make a hook out of our content that has a similar hook to what really hooked people into this story? What details in this story were told that we can then look at and see how do we embellish our stories to have similar details that continue to drive the narrative forward, keeping people engaged, right? And then what kind of comments were people leaving and how can we leverage that or answer those questions before they even have the question asked? So all of these things can be something that you can model in your content. Another one might be how that actual presentation is put together. A lot of times I will see creators do a cooking video or they're eating while they talk about some other topic. This is visually engaging. So you could be making a coffee or pouring a glass of wine or cooking something. Even if you're not talking about the food itself, if while you're doing that video, you're talking about your content, but you're creating something visually engaging for someone to watch, this a lot of times has a lot of pull on whether or not that video will get a lot of views. Again, it's more than just a talking head. So right here, I am just a talking head, and I think that I'm relatively engaging. I have good animation. I talk with my hands because I'm Italian. I think it's just like built into my blood. But in general, I'm animated. I try to give you examples anytime that I, tell a story or bring something up. I try to give examples from different, contexts and things like that so that you can understand it from different perspectives. But if I was telling this entire story while I was going through this box here, or if I was doing this, this information, giving this to you while I was eating, although you might not want to watch me eat. I don't want to watch me eat. Or while I was doing my makeup, there's a lot of women that do their makeup while they tell different stories or create different pieces of content. It becomes more visually engaging. Your ADHD brain is able to access multiple levels of satisfaction because it's something else to look at while you're listening, while you're doing something. If you're an artist and you can create great stories and tell content while you're drawing, while you're coloring, while you're doing something that somebody can watch, again, it makes it more visually appealing. And this is another style that you can model as you see other people do it. And then the other thing that you can add is adding in B-roll. I do this in a lot of my content. My editor adds B-roll footage in to break up the talking head of just me. He adds in some B-roll footage that is related to the thing that I'm talking about to make it visually more appealing. Now, this is also more edited, and those videos don't tend to do quite as well as like just a totally natural, native video in the platform, but it's a good way to repurpose some content like this over into a video platform, short form videos, and then again, I'm modeling other people that are doing the same thing. You'll also see, I'm trying to think some of the people that do it really, really well, but there's a lot of creators now that use subtitles to give this same movement to their content, same visual excitement. Instead of just small little subtitles at the bottom, their subtitles are big and colorful and have emojis mixed into them. And all of that takes more effort to create, of course, but it's really visually engaging and it can help your content do much better. So the big thing here, again, is to think about what are other people doing and when are they doing it and is it making their content perform better? And so I never like to look or model someone that's piece of content was interesting to me but didn't perform well, because just because it was interesting to me doesn't make it good content. If it didn't perform well, there's probably a reason. But if there's a piece of content that's performing very, very well, then I might look for other similar pieces of content that are like that also perform well and say, how can I model that in what I do? How can I make the thing that I'm talking about or the content that I'm creating more interesting by modeling what other people are doing with their content creation? I hope that that makes sense and that you're able to take some of that into the content that you create, whether it's in short form video format, whether you're making a YouTube, if you're posting it onto Facebook, even just using emojis and things like that throughout the post, breaking it up with some good white space, again, bringing in that storytelling element. All of those pieces can help your content be more exciting. Also, this means that you have to stress less about what content you're creating, because the flip side of looking for those elements is you can also look for what are people in my niche talking about and what are my ideal customers finding interesting. And then you're able, again, to take that content and model it. If I own an Airbnb and teach people about Airbnbs, I might find other Airbnb creators and hosts that like to share about their content. And I might have heard somebody talk about how many doors they have. And so maybe I'm gonna do a piece of content around whether or not it's good to have a lot of doors or to have larger properties or higher profit margins, right? Is it better? Maybe that's the content I'm gonna do. Is it better to have more doors with lower profit margins, but more of them, or a single one with a higher profit margin, but then I only have the one, right? What's better? Last place, but my favorite place to get content ideas is in the comments. The comments from creators who create content in a similar niche. So again, we'll talk about in the financial space, we follow other creators. So I have my client follow other creators and I follow other creators so that I can help him find people as well. But we will look for other creators creating content around a topic that he is very well versed in. And instead of creating another piece of content on that topic, we will look at the comments. That topic was answered very, very well or poorly, right? Sometimes people answer it with a bad answer and then you might want to go and correct that. We'll circle back to that in just a second. But look at the comments. What are people saying in the comments? What questions are coming up after learning this piece of information? And then go in and fill in and answer for them. So you can use those comments to come up with even more content. This works incredibly well. And as I was saying, there's a lot of times where maybe someone will give bad information in their content. I see this a lot in the tax space. Right now, it seems like there's a lot of tax gurus that don't actually know the tax code and are just trying to go viral or get some viral content out there. So they're saying things that aren't true. And the big one today, you've probably seen it, that everyone is talking about is how to write off 100% of your vehicle if you own a business and the vehicle weighs more than 6,000 pounds. Well, the challenge with this, if you go buy a G-Wagon, it's a $110,000 car. It weighs more than 6,000 pounds, so you can write that off. If your business buys it, you can write it off on your taxes. Well, there's a couple of problems with that. And people end the conversation, the content there. And so everyone's like, oh my gosh, I need to do that. That looks cool. Well, a couple of problems. One, it doesn't have to be this really, really expensive G-Wagon in order for you to do that. Just the vehicle's gross weight just has to be more than the 6,000 pounds. But in addition to that, you have to use the vehicle 100% for business purposes to write off 100% of the vehicle. If you want to write off part of it, then you can use it for part. But most people are not buying a vehicle to use solely for their business. Very few people are out there going, okay, I think I'm gonna buy a G-Wagon and only ever use it for my business. No, that's not the case for most people, but that is the case if you want to get that 100% write-off, and you have to document. You have to prove that that vehicle is being used solely 100% for your business. Number two, you are only writing that off from your taxable income. So let's say that vehicle is $110,000, and depending on the state that you're in, the county that you're in, you can't even write off the whole thing in some cases, so that depends too. But if that vehicle is $100,000, you are taking $100,000 off your taxable income, assuming you use it 100% for business, right? And you're doing it in the first year, which sounds great, okay? So you're getting that 100% deduction of that $100,000. That doesn't mean the government writes you a check back for $100,000. It means your taxable income is $100,000 less. Typically, most people are in a 20 to 30% tax bracket, so you're paying 20 to 30% you would be paying 20 to 30% on that $100,000. So what you're really saving is around $20,000 or $30,000. Now, this is still a fantastic tax savings, by all means. But if you don't have $100,000 laying around to throw into a vehicle like this, you need to not expect that you're getting $100,000 back. So this is what I mean by where people give incorrect information, or they give only part of the story because it makes them sound better. They think, oh, cool, everyone's gonna go out and be like, oh, that's cool, I can get a G-Wagon, right? That's what they think. Now they've given false information, they've given bad information. So when you see that, it's a great time to come in and correct that information if you are somebody with the knowledge to correct it. Put the right information out there, never throw anybody under the bus. So I wouldn't call that person out or tag them or say their name necessarily or any of that. But I would say, hey, there's a lot of people spreading misinformation around X, Y, and Z. I want to clarify a few things. Here's the details. Here's the things you actually need to know. And now you get to be the hero. You didn't look like a jerk. You didn't put anybody down. You didn't hurt anybody else's business, but you also said that information's wrong, and I want to make sure you get the right information. And that is another way that you can create content. So hopefully with this, now you have lots of ways to come up with different types of content and you won't run out, because you should be consistently creating, depending on what platform you're on, I would say 3 to 5 pieces of content a day, which is a lot. That is a lot of content, but it also helps you stay top of mind. It helps you feed the algorithms, right? The more that you can post. The one place that you don't want to do this is on Facebook. Facebook prioritizes your first piece of content each day, and then after that gets less and less views. So on Facebook, you might want to pick your best piece of content and just do that one piece each day, be consistent, but over on Instagram Reels or on TikTok, you'll likely want to have multiple pieces of content a day so that you are constantly in the feed and so that you can build your follower account, so that you can build the people that are driving traffic towards your business. And again, this can help you without feeling so much stress over what do I post today or what do I create. As always, I want to remind you to like this video, subscribe to this channel for more videos just like this. And if you have any questions, drop a comment below. I would love to come back here and answer them for you. Or if you just need some help creating content ideas for your niche, feel free to let me know what your niche is in the comments and I will give you some really great content ideas.